my message, and I know my colleagues share this, all of us are very, very committed to working hard for Canadians, and Canadians expect us to do this work. So, you know, we're going to have a good, robust conversation at caucus like we do every week.
Have you been talking to your colleagues?
Do you support that?
What do you say to the dissenters? What do you say to them?
I look forward to this morning's meeting. I think this is an important conversation to have amongst caucus, to have behind closed doors. And I look forward to everything that we're about to discuss, frankly. It's important.
What do you think the MPs need to be reassured? You know that he's still the right person for the job. What are views on anxiety?
I think it's important that we hear from the Prime Minister, obviously, his vision and his commitment as we look forward to the future. I know myself with our national school food program, $10 a day daycare, you know, focus on these priorities that are really important to Canadian families and delivering on these priorities.
Committed to run in the next federal election if the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is there.
Are you going to
That's
put
the bottom line.
on your campaign poster?
You know what? No party has made a fine art out of character assassination in the Conservative Party. And at the end of the day, once we get into an election, we'll take off the veil of Mr. Pierre Poilievre, and I believe that Mr. Trudeau will be back in his government.
On your campaign poster?
The Prime Minister will always be on my posters, and he's welcome in Winnipeg North anytime. With a beautiful name like Lamoureux, you would think I speak French. I'm sorry.
Do you think a secret vote would be a good option during the caucus meeting today to let people...
About Pierre Poilievre? Absolutely.
No,
absolutely.
Groupe de députés qui opèrent en secret pour faire signer un document. Est-ce que c'est constructif d'après vous? Est-ce qu'ils ont le droit de s'exprimer?
Ce qui est constructif, c'est de parler de le taux d'intérêt qui a baissé de moitié d'1% aujourd'hui. Ça fait juste 5 minutes pour ces nouvelles. Ce qu'on va faire dans la chambre ici, c'est qu'on va continuer de discuter les priorités des Canadiennes, les priorités de notre gouvernement, notre chef et notre chef que j'appuie 100%.
But how do you think the Prime Minister can quell this dissent? How can he quell this dissent?
We are going to have a discussion in that room about the priorities for Canadians, about the priorities of our government, and the Prime Minister is our leader. That's a leader who I support 100%. Thank you very much.
Would you support a mechanism, a secret vote today to let the MPs maybe vote on the leadership? Do you think that could be constructive?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have to read the room. There's all sorts of wheels within. Oh, sorry about that. All sorts of wheels within wheels turning right now. So yeah, I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to make my mind a blank and just soak it all in.
What are your constituents saying?
You know what?
The Prime Minister, when you go door to door, what do they say?
Nothing.
They don't talk to you?
Well, no, they don't. You know, in the hundreds of contacts I've had 2 people bring it up, and it's all to do with immigration, being where I'm from, right? So yeah, no, and I don't know if we're unique. I'd like to think so.
So do you want to see the Prime Minister stay on?
I'm not going to say anything about that until I have my say in there. All right, thanks, guys. Huh? He's a great guy, totally. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of loyalty there.
To Canadians and to representing the Liberal values than Justin Trudeau. Absolutely.
Are you going to have a face on your poster?
That's up to the campaign team to decide that. It's not the first time.
Faire signer ce document-là. On a parlé à des gens qui nous ont dit l'avoir signé. C'est constructif, c'est une distraction. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez?
Regarde, on est en train d'aller pour caucus pour avoir une conversation robuste sur les enjeux qui préoccupent les gens. Regarde, moi je suis assez vieux, ça fait 35 ans que je fais partie du Parti libéral du Canada. C'est pas la première fois que je vois que les passions soient élevées et que les gens, ont crainte pour l'avenir. Mais on ne sait pas qu'est-ce qui va passer dans 6 semaines, dans 6 mois, quoi que ce soit. Moi, je suis entièrement derrière le Premier ministre. Et si les gens doivent s'associer avant un caucus pour être confiants de présenter leur perspective, c'est légitime. On est là pour être en grande famille. Aujourd'hui, moi, je pense qu'on va avoir une conversation très importante. Et suite à ça, on va continuer. Parce que sachez, j'ai fait le calcul hier soir. Une famille avec un enfant en garderie en Alberta, maintenant, si Pierre Poilievre est Premier ministre, il perd 20 000 $. Ça, c'est une famille.
internal discussions that you're having that have made it out to the public? Is this going to hurt?
Look, there's what would you call it, some palace drama going on right now, and that takes us away from the number one job, which is focusing on Canadians and focusing on the important policies, but also on showing the really clear contrast between our government, our party, and Pierre Poilievre. I did some rough math last night, and a family in Edmonton with one kid in daycare would be $20,000 worse off under a Pierre Poilievre government.
What are you going to tell your
Constituents say when you go door to door? What do they say?
They want the Liberal Party to win. I'm on the doors all the time.
Do they say they want Trudeau?
No, they don't want to. They want us to focus on them, to focus on delivering results, and to have a damn fine campaign. And so that's what we have to get ready for. And look, we got to start punching back. We got to let people know who Pierre Poilievre really is. And he's not the Pollyanna guy that you see on CBC ads this week. Okay. He is much more nasty and much more dangerous to Canadians, and that's what our party and our government is.
Vous êtes pas prêt dans la préparation électorale, que le plan de match n'est pas clair, que le Parti libéral est en retard. Alors, qu'est-ce que vous répondez à ça? Est-ce qu'ils ont raison?
Ce sont des craintes légitimes. Moi, je trouve que Andrew Bevin, Marjorie, c'est formidable comme personne pour être à la tête de notre prochaine campagne. Et vous savez, moi, je suis militant. Là, c'est go time. Moi, je suis prête à gagner les prochaines élections.
We're going to go in there and we're going to have an excellent discussion, and we are going to emerge united because we have work to do for the Canadian people.
How do you emerge united? What is the Prime Minister? How does the Prime Minister quell this?
This is a meeting of our caucus in order for people to express their views. We are a party of big ideas and a party that accepts different points of view, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
But some of these members, but some of your members are going to be asking the Prime Minister to resign. That's way more than expressing ideas. So how does the Prime Minister deal with the question that about 20 of his MPs want him out of the job?
Well, let's have the conversation. We haven't had the conversation yet, so we're really looking forward to, again, having the opportunity for people to express their viewpoints. That is a fundamental premise of the Liberal Party. That is a fundamental premise of how we do business. And I would like to say also that the Prime Minister has entrusted in me 4 large portfolios, from procurement to defense to Treasury Board and now transport. And I personally am looking forward to continuing that work for Canadians under his leadership.
Do you have a
controversy what it might be doing to fundraising for the Liberal Party? Pardon me? Are you worried about what this controversy might mean for fundraising for the Liberal Party?
Actually, I have been fundraising myself over the past little while, and it's going very well. And I'm also having a fundraiser coming up in November, and that's also going really well. And so the microcosm case for the bigger question that you're asking is actually fundraising is going extremely well, and we will continue under the leadership of Justin Trudeau into the next election, and I'm really looking forward to running in Oakville and also continuing to serve Canadians. Donc, merci beaucoup. Our caucus, in order for people
It's being circulated. Have you signed have those meetings?
I think these conversations need to happen inside the caucus room. Caucus confidentiality should stay, and we need to have all these conversations, whatever we hear from our constituents, within those rooms.
Oui, bien sûr, elle a toute ma confiance.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de la démarche de ces députés?
Je pense qu'à la fin de la réunion de cette caucus, il va avoir la confiance du caucus.
La prochaine campagne.
Il va avoir la confiance du caucus, je vous confirme ça.
Est-ce que vous allez vous présenter la campagne?
Absolument.
Est-ce que vous allez mettre sa photo sur les affiches?
Absolument. Merci.
Est-ce que vous l'avez vu d'ailleurs? Est-ce que vous l'avez signé?
Je pense que ce qui est important, c'est qu'une déclaration par les députés, c'est quelque chose ce que je comprends, c'est qu'on a l'intention d'en discuter au niveau du caucus. Et puis, je trouve que c'est important que ces discussions-là aient lieu en caucus.
Avez-vous confiance au Premier ministre?
Je pense qu'on va avoir des bonnes discussions aujourd'hui, des discussions honnêtes, dans la bienveillance. Je pense qu'il va y avoir matière à réflexion. dans les prochains jours pour notre caucus, pour notre premier ministre. Puis ultimement, on va aboutir avec la meilleure décision pour le parti.
Seriez-vous prête à...
Il y a la possibilité d'un scrutin secret qui circule, il y a des députés qui en veulent. Mais pensez-vous que ce serait peut-être utile pour mettre...
On n'est pas là. On n'est pas là, mais vous amplifiez la chose d'une façon démesurée. Il n'y a aucun de mes collègues qui est venu me voir pour me parler de ça. Et l'espèce de document anonyme qui circule semble même pas venir des députés. Ben, je sais pas. Je sais pas.
Il y a quand même des députés qui ont signé une lettre.
J'ai jamais rien vu. J'ai jamais rien vu de ça. Il n'y a même aucun député qui ne m'en a jamais parlé. Et ce que j'ai reçu par courriel, je suis incapable d'identifier la source.
Ben, il y a quand même M. McDonald qui a courriel, donc...
Pas de source. C'est n'importe quoi. C'est n'importe quoi. Non, moi, je pense pas. Faut pas dire que net, c'est n'importe quoi. Quand les gens s'expriment, ils s'expriment. Moi, j'ai pas vu la lettre. J'ai pas vu de signataire. Moi, ce que je vois ici aujourd'hui, c'est qu'il y a des membres du caucus qui veulent s'exprimer. Puis, il y a aussi une grande majorité qui veulent qu'on s'enligne tous sur une campagne, qu'on soit tous unis derrière l'objectif commun qui est celui de battre police.
Avez-vous reçu le courriel qui est pas signé? Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de l'idée d'un scrutin secret? Essayez de mesurer les appuis.
On n'a pas ce genre de... On n'a pas ce processus au sein du parti. On a un caucus qui est à porte fermée, à huis clos. Les gens s'expriment. Autant les gens qui sont mécontents ou qui veulent donner leur alliance, mais aussi une grande majorité qui veulent passer à autre chose, qui est celle d'organiser une campagne pour se préparer à la campagne.
Question de courriel sans source. Vous avez vu, ce courriel?
Non, moi, j'ai pas vu. Puis moi, un courriel sans source, pas signé, je trouve que c'est pas...
Vous avez entendu parler de ça?
Oui, j'entends parler d'une lettre que j'ai pas vue. J'entends parler de gens qui ont signé une lettre que j'ai pas vue. Moi, j'espère que... Ben, exact. Moi, les courriels qui viennent de je sais pas où, je peux pas parler d'un courriel que je sais pas de rien.
Ben, vous n'avez pas reçu.
Non, pas encore. Alors, je peux pas vous en parler. Non, moi, je pense que Justin, c'est une des personnes les plus résilientes que je connaisse. C'est quelqu'un qui est bon campaigner, comme j'ai toujours dit. Puis moi, je pense qu'il faut travailler sur s'organiser, être prêt à la campagne. Parce que, je l'ai dit, tous les membres du caucus, il y a une chose qui nous unit, là, c'est qu'on veut tous battre Poilievre. Bien sûr.
100%. I've said that many times to many.
Is this going to hurt your caucus? Everything that's happening in your caucus, is this hurting your prime minister? Is it hurting your government?
Well, I think it's not. I mean, it's normal for people to have debate and to have discussions. I think this is the place where we should be having them.
But 30 MPs about less than a year out before a scheduled election, is that normal?
I don't actually know how many MPs have signed this. I haven't seen it. We know of 3 of them, but the vast majority of the Liberal caucus support the Prime Minister. I support the Prime Minister.
Before an election, is that going to be enough to say the vast majority? Shouldn't the Prime Minister have a full, everyone in his caucus should be supporting him if you're going to have him as your leader going into an election?
As I said, the vast majority of caucus supports the Prime Minister, and we're behind him to get ready to continue serving Canadians, and we'll see when the next election comes.
Que le caucus soit déchiré à la fin de cet exercice-là, qu'il y ait un problème d'unité à la fin?
Non, moi, je ne suis pas inquiet de ça. Je pense que certaines personnes ont fait connaître, trois députés ont fait connaître leur opinion publiquement, mais ces mêmes personnes ont dit, bon, si le premier ministre reste, nous, on ne va pas quitter. Alors, je pense qu'à la fin de cette rencontre-là, on va pouvoir tourner la page.
Est-ce que les députés mécontents devraient partir, devraient quitter le pays?
Non. Je pense que dans une famille politique comme la nôtre, c'est normal d'avoir des discussions, c'est normal d'avoir des débats. Je pense que l'endroit où on doit faire ça, c'est dans le caucus. Cela étant, certains ont décidé de faire ça de façon un peu publique. Moi, je ne partage pas leur point de vue, mais pour moi, ils ont encore leur place avec nous.
Qu'est-ce que Justin Trudeau doit lui dire pour les rassurer?
C'est à eux qu'il faut poser cette question.
Mais il y a des preuves à faire, M. Trudeau, quand même, aujourd'hui.
Je pense que les gens certaines de ces personnes-là sont inquiètes. On a entendu M. Casey, notamment. Moi, je suis dans un comté où le premier ministre, je suis dans l'ancien comté de Guilbeault. Le premier ministre n'a jamais été très populaire dans mon comté depuis que je suis arrivé comme député en 2019. Je pense que pour certains députés qui sont arrivés sur la vague de Justin Trudeau en 2015, c'est une nouveauté. Ça n'a jamais été nouveau pour moi. Alors, je pense que pour certaines personnes, il y a une adaptation à faire.
So how does the Prime Minister put a lid on this dissent?
I think it's about putting a lid. It's about having frank and honest conversations, and even disagreements amongst us, and then coming up to a conclusion on that, turning the page and moving on.
But you know this is a gift for the opposition. They're having a field day with this.
I don't know what the opposition will or won't.
When it looks like you're all fighting, it's good for them.
Well, as I said many times, we're not all fighting. Some have stated that they wanted some change, but the vast majority of caucus is behind the Prime Minister.
Ça aurait été exprimé. Est-ce que d'après vous, les mutins devraient se taire à jamais?
Je pense qu'on va continuer d'avoir des discussions, mais moi j'espère qu'on va tourner la page. Une fois que nous aurons eu ces discussions franches et honnêtes-là, nous pourrons tourner la page. Et on n'est pas là pour s'occuper du Parti libéral du Canada. On est là pour s'occuper de la population canadienne. C'est ça pourquoi les gens nous ont élus. Alors, ayons ces discussions-là, puis passons à autre chose ensuite. Merci beaucoup.
I support us having a robust conversation in this meeting. This is the first time we're actually talking about this today. And that's a really important conversation. I'm open to the different points that people will be sharing today. I think this will cause a lot of reflection, and I think it's hard to come to a conclusion on anything at this moment in time. We are a Liberal family, and we must be Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre could not have a day in government, and this is our objective as a caucus and as Liberals. We have a program for the country, and this program is one that's best for Canadians, and we must have that full conversation today.
So should those who don't have confidence in the Prime Minister step outside caucus?
Oh well, I think we need to really hear what's happening inside, and these conversations will happen inside the caucus room in confidence.
What does the Prime Minister need to do? What does the Prime Minister need to do to quell the dissent in his caucus?
That's not for me to answer.
What do you think he should do?
I think we need to have a conversation today. We're having that for the first time. And there will be many different opinions put forth, and we need to listen to each other. And I'm listening to my colleagues.
What should happen then if the minority, if the minority doesn't have confidence in the Prime Minister, should they stay or go?
Let me go in there and find out, and my impressions are that this party has to stay united, we've got to stay strong, and we're falling prey to the fear-mongering, exactly what Pierre Poilievre wants. We've had this playbook before. It happened in 2008. They misprovide people with doubt, and I get that. It's politics. But some of the things that Pierre Poilievre is doing and the Conservative Party have been doing have undermined and divided Canada. I want Canada to be strong. I want us to be united, and I want our party to be united.
But is your party united? Your party doesn't look very united.
We're going to go find out how we're going to resolve that, too. Take care, everybody.
What do you hope gets done in caucus today?
Sorry?
What do you hope gets done in caucus today?
That we stay united.
We're going to have a good caucus meeting.
Do you want a secret ballot?
We're going to have a good caucus meeting. MPs should be free to air their perspective. I'm sure they will, and we'll come out of it united.
What's your perspective?
My perspective is that it's up to the Prime Minister what he wants to do, and me engaging in questions around political intrigue do nothing to serve the interests of my constituents. I'm here to represent them. We're going to have a discussion, but that's where my focus is in London.
What about the idea of a secret ballot?
No, I did not.
I look forward to the discussions, and that we need to get behind our leader and fight for the values that we believe in and fight for Canadians.
How do you think the Prime Minister gets people behind him?
It's about the track record. It's about removing 500,000 kids from poverty. It's about childcare. It's about climate change. We're the only party that apparently believes in fighting climate.
Do you support the PM?
Of course, 100%.
Do you support a secret ballot?
Do I support what?
A secret ballot?
No.
Vous pensez pas qu'il devrait y en avoir un? Why not?
Listen, I support the PM 100%, and I think the vast majority of caucus members do, cabinet members do, and I think we need to put this away because the more time we spend talking about ourselves, the less time we spend talking about Canadians and about Pierre Poilievre.
Juste en français, pour ce qui est d'un scrutin secret, vous dites que vous ne croyez pas que c'est une bonne idée. Pourquoi?
Non, je supporte le Premier ministre 100%, puis je crois qu'il faut qu'on on a cette discussion aujourd'hui, puis après, on arrête de parler entre nous, puis on parle des Canadiens, puis on parle de Pierre Poilievre.
Look, I think right now we're going into National Caucus, and I'm hoping for a confidential, thoughtful conversation with colleagues and the Prime Minister. I'm sure it will give us all a lot to think about, the Prime Minister a lot to think about over the coming days. That's what I'm looking for.
Mais pensez-vous qu'un scrutin secret serait pertinent pour voir un peu où en est l'état du leadership de M. Trudeau?
Ben encore une fois, ce que je veux dire, c'est que maintenant, en ce moment, c'est que je suis intéressé à avoir une discussion avec mes collègues et avec le Premier ministre. C'est ça ma priorité et j'ai hâte d'avoir cette discussion. J'espère qu'elle va être une conversation confidentielle où les gens vont partager ce qu'ils pensent sur une série de questions et je pense que la conversation va donner beaucoup pour moi, pour mes collègues, pour le Premier ministre à penser pendant les jours qui suivent.
Ça passe pas par un scrutin secret, si je comprends bien. Vous ne pensez pas que c'est nécessaire, la conversation suffit?
Je veux prioriser en ce moment une conversation avec mes collègues. C'est ça.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez que ça fait au parti, ce débat-là, sur l'avenir de monsieur? Qu'est-ce que vous pensez que ça a comme conséquence?
How does the Prime Minister call his dissent?
What does that?
How does the Prime Minister call his dissent?
I think what I will say to people this morning, the most important thing to my residents, and I think to an overwhelming majority of Canadians, is what the Bank of Canada did this morning, reducing rates by 50 basis points, and what's in the opening statement by the Bank of Canada Governor about where the Canadian economy is going and how we've beaten inflation, which was caused by outside forces, and how Canadians can keep working and we can keep moving this economy forward. Thank you.
The caucus meeting is a time to actually have a robust conversation. We expect to do that today. We expect people to actually be able to voice their views. It's not a place where people hide their views, and that's what we're going to do today.
Do you think this leadership issue will be quelled after today? Do you think this will linger on?
Well, I think what we were going to see is the vast majority of caucus strongly supports the Prime Minister's leadership. But we got to have a conversation. We need to hear what people have to say.
How do you bring people on side? How does the Prime Minister quell the dissenters?
We have important conversations and we work together as a team, as we always have and we always will, because our leader and our team is the best for Canadians.
Can you work as a team if half the team hates you? Caucus.
No, but this morning it's all about regaining momentum. That's the meeting where we're going to regain momentum, focus on the issue that matter to Canadians, and then go win the election. That's the whole purpose of this morning.
How do you win under Trudeau right now? How do you regain that momentum when you have caucus members who want him out?
No, but by talking with each other, and then I can tell you, after this morning, we'll regain momentum, focus on the issue that matter to Canadians, and go win the election.
What if you have caucus members who say, what do you have?
It's going to go well. You'll see. Moi, ce que je dis ce matin, c'est la réunion pour regagner le momentum. C'est-à-dire, on va écouter les collègues. Ensuite de ça, on va focaliser sur les enjeux qui concernent les Canadiens. On va aller gagner la prochaine élection. C'est ça ce matin. On va bien aller.
A general takeaway of where things are at. Is the Prime Minister still your leader after this caucus meeting?
Yes, of course, but I'm not going to get into the details of a caucus meeting. I think that's the worst part about some of these things where people leak from caucus. It's unhelpful. It means that people aren't willing to share in there. I'm happy to share in there. And
Can you say what you're feeling like? Can you say if you're feeling more comfortable or optimistic than when you went in this morning? Can you tell us that?
I can say my view of things is that it's a healthy conversation in our party to say what's the best path forward.
And the Prime Minister, but are you comfortable with that path forward? Like, were you reassured in any way? Or
conversation's still going. I just got to catch a flight.
But can you just clarify?
Oh my God!
So
Am I the first person to leave this caucus meeting?
Just to clarify, you're saying the Prime Minister is still the Liberal Party leader leaving this caucus, and you're expecting
Of course. Did you
that
expect
to remain.
otherwise?
I don't know what to expect.
Some MPs were asking for what was the mood like? What was the tone like?
I'm not going to disclose anything that happens in the caucus meeting. I'm happy to say my own views on anything, but I'm not going to talk about the emotions or feelings or feedback or experience of colleagues.
Do you feel better leaving this caucus meeting than going in?
I felt pretty good going into the meeting too, but
do you feel the party is united, more united, or less united?
after this meeting?
I'll just speak for myself. Look, I think I said this to the Prime Minister directly in a recorded interview. I mean, I think there's obviously a path forward where we take the fight. Last year, the Conservatives spent $9 million on ads. We spent $300,000. Good luck to us fighting that fight. So I think there's absolutely a path forward where the Prime Minister can turn things around. I think if ultimately we throw everything at the wall and he's getting tuned out, that's a different story. I don't think we're there yet, and I think it was a constructive conversation today. But like we gotta stop the palace intrigue, and we gotta focus on what's most important. Consider this as an example, okay? So this old age security debate, the Bloc is like, oh, let's increase it by $3 billion. You know that already OAS accounts for $1 of every $7 that the federal government spends. You also know that a seniors couple, $90,000 each that they earn, $180,000 overall. You know how much they get? $17,000 in taxable benefits. And we want to give them more money? Like, we're not even having that debate. I know! We can't even have that debate.
Is the palace intrigue done after today?
I think we're still likely to have a few conversations after today. You wouldn't be surprised to learn, I hope.
Did the Prime Minister say he's staying on, or is he leaving?
I'm not going to disclose what happened in the caucus meeting.
Well, you don't have to.
Well, you can ask him when he comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll stop for us the way you are.
I don't know.
If you think the palace intrigue isn't done, so you think this is still going to be a distraction you have to deal with? Some MPs asking.
I don't know that
resign?
it'll be the same distraction, but we got to put aside that distraction, and we got to focus on, I think, the real debates. Look, this morning I did a radio interview, and we talked partly about the palace intrigue, but also, at the end of the day, this is not just a referendum on Justin Trudeau. I know that's how the Conservatives want to cast it. That's an interesting thing to write. This is ultimately going to be a choice between Conservatives and Liberals in the election. It's going to be a choice between Pierre Poilievre and probably Justin Trudeau, but the Liberal leader. And that's going to be a very important choice for Canadians to make in terms of the direction of the country. And that's the conversation that we should be having.
But what's changed after this meeting? What's changed?
I'm not going to disclose that.
What's changed after this meeting?
What's your main takeaway from that meeting?
My contribution to the meeting is what I can speak to, and my contribution to the meeting is that I think it's really important when you have so many colleagues that are expressing frustration. I've expressed frustration over the years at different times. It's very important that feedback is listened to. It's very important that ultimately there are some changes to respond to that, and it's very important that the trust is re-earned of those caucus colleagues.
And was it? Sorry.
What do you mean? It was it?
The trust
in the course of an hour and a half. People are expressing their opinions in that meeting, and that's the point of a caucus meeting. And then it's up to the Prime Minister to reflect on everything he's heard and to come back to caucus not only with a plan, but also to express to caucus how have my colleagues been listened to, and what is he going to do to make sure that they feel.
Should this have happened sooner?
Should this particular meeting?
Yeah, should this meeting have happened sooner, where MPs can air their grievances and feel heard and listened to?
I mean, that's, one would hope, the goal of most caucus meetings. For me, after St. Paul's, I had conversations with the Prime Minister and let him know. I made public comments afterwards. I've made public comments ever since. So I think there's always an opportunity for colleagues to be heard. I think it's important in this meeting. I'm glad this meeting happened. Whether it could or should have happened earlier,
Why
I don't know.
do you think some of your colleagues haven't been
there? Was there any plan that was presented to you guys to reassure you that there is a plan forward?
Well, I'm not going to speak to what happened in caucus.
But do you feel like you are part of the United Caucus?
Following this talk with the Prime Minister, is there any plan that you have confidence in that you're going to get through the next election? With him there.
Is there any? Sorry, say
Is there any plan to get you through the next election with him at the helm?
I've spoken to Andrew Bevan. I understand that he has a plan he was intending to deliver today, but obviously other events overran that for good reason. So I have confidence there is a plan. I look forward to discussing it, probably not in front of so many reporters right away, but I look forward to dealing with that plan and speaking to colleagues about that plan.
You said the trust needs to be restored. Whose trust needs to be restored? Is it the dissenters need to win back the trust of their other caucus colleagues, or is it that the Prime Minister needs to regain the trust of all of his caucus?
So my message today was twofold, actually. It was that I think the Prime Minister has to listen to the frustrations, and in some cases really valid frustrations, of caucus colleagues, and incorporate that into changes moving forward, whether those are big changes or small changes or both. And the second thing is my colleagues need to turn the knives outwards and not inwards, and we need to focus on the most important thing, which is getting things done here in Parliament and taking the fight to Pierre Poilievre, because he's a disaster for this country.
And you spoke in caucus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just told you
my
contribution. That is the only thing I will share.
Do you think your message resonated?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Usually it does, though, so I think so, yeah.
So what is he going to tell them to sheathe their knives? You said it's time for them to turn the knives outward.
Yeah.
Right, but what's he going to offer them to put their knives away?
Well, that's not a question for me, my friend. That's not a question for me.
With so many frustrations, do you feel right now that you are part of a united caucus?
Yeah, and I mean, not united in that we're all pulling, singing from the same song sheet on every single issue, but certainly united in the sense that we want what's best for this country, and we want to put our best foot forward in the next election.
But are you rowing in the same direction?
So, what more do you have to talk about after today?
You got more people. I gotta catch a flight, but you got more people coming.
Thank you for
They'll have more interesting answers, I'm sure.
Are you guys done with the internal knifing, though?
I don't know. You gotta ask my colleagues.
Is the caucus united behind you?
Liberal Party is strong and united.
Tout le monde a pu s'exprimer. Est-ce que les mutins se sont rangés derrière Justin Trudeau?
Comme d'habitude, on a eu un excellent caucus. On a eu la chance de s'exprimer. Comme d'habitude, on a parlé aussi de la baisse des taux d'inflation, des bonnes nouvelles. Et puis, on a prouvé encore une fois qu'on était une belle famille au caucus national.
Est-ce que les mutins restent au sein du parti? Est-ce que les mutins restent au sein du parti?
C'est pas une discussion qu'on a eue entre qui est sur un bord, qui est sur l'autre. C'est une question qu'on a le droit de s'exprimer. On l'a fait. Et je peux vous dire qu'on est un beau caucus uni, une belle famille, et puis on va gagner la prochaine année. C'est un caucus normal, un endroit où on peut s'exprimer. C'est exactement ce qu'on a fait. Une belle famille. On est ressorti encore plus fort, comme à chaque caucus. Ce matin, un beau caucus du Québec. À titre de président, maintenant, ça a été apporté au caucus national. On a parlé de la baisse d'inflation. On a parlé de toutes sortes de belles choses.
Il n'y aura plus de personnes qui vont exprimer leur mécontentement?
C'était un caucus normal où on s'exprime. Et puis.
C'est ça, un caucus normal?
Oui. À toutes les semaines, on peut s'exprimer comme qu'on veut. On peut s'exprimer libre choix. Et ça prouve encore une fois qu'on est une super belle famille. Et aussi, on va gagner la prochaine.
Bonjour, ça va bien? Vous allez bien?
No, I'm saying that we as a party recognize that the real threat here is Pierre Poilievre, and that's what we're fighting for. That's why I came back.
In your opinion, should Trudeau stay on as leader?
Trudeau has made very clear that he feels he's the right choice, and he appreciates all of what is being said, because he's reflecting on what is being done across Canada. So I respect his decision, whatever that may be.
What do you mean, what is being done? Reflecting on what is being done across Canada? Or what do you mean?
Listen, we have recognized that times are improving. People had a rough road. And economic recovery is there. Social policies are put in place. A lot is threatened if Pierre Poilievre comes into play. And I think people need to understand that. We haven't done a good job of reflecting on what the alternatives can be. And I think that's the real choice.
But can you clarify if you're leaving the caucus with the understanding that the Prime Minister is reflecting on its future, or if the decision
I
is
am
to stay?
telling you that we as a party have to stay united, recognize that the real threat is Pierre Poilievre, and what is going to take place should he become the leader is also a problem.
My question is your understanding that the Prime Minister is reflecting on his future, or that he's
Prime
decided
Minister
to stay?
is the man who is in charge, and he'll make whatever decisions he feels right. Right now, he's deciding that his decision is to ensure that we beat Pierre Poilievre and he as a leader. That's what he's saying.
Do you
Okay?
feel like
Thank
the
you.
caucus is more or less united than when you walked into that room?
I think the caucus recognizes that we have to stay united, and that we can't fall prey to the fear-mongering. And listen, the other guys, they can smell blood, they can smell fear. We can't let that be the case, because we've got to stand strong. Thank you.
A great conversation, very united, and look forward to moving forward.
Now staying on, or is he reflecting on his future?
All I can say, Marika, is that I'm extremely proud of my colleagues. I know it sounds a little off-brand at this point, but extremely proud of them airing things out in private and having a frank conversation that was really truthful.
So where do things stand now, though?
I think we still have some stuff to sort out, but I think it was a great conversation. People were honest and weren't doing it as a whisper campaign. So I'm actually quite proud of my colleagues.
Avez-vous l'impression que Justin Trudeau est là pour rester maintenant?
Absolutely. Among us.
Mr. Assassi, what was the conclusion out of today? Where do things stand?
That we're all united and standing in Poilievre's way.
Salma, how are you feeling about the caucus unity coming out of that meeting?
It was important to have important discussions, what we hear from constituents, and I think what was said in the caucus should stay in the caucus.
Do you think that Mr. Trudeau should still be a strong caucus
makes it even stronger. And we have shared all sorts of views, including with the Prime Minister, on things that we need to do even better.
But what does that mean about where things are with his future? Is he staying on as leader? Is that decided, or is that still an open question?
Well, he has already made clear his views on that. I think he will be even more clear as he speaks to you. But what is even more clear coming out of the caucus is we had also the opportunity of speaking about the good news of the interest rates falling.
Can you just clarify where things stand?
Nope. C'est effectivement très diversifié, mais la diversité fait notre force et c'est pour ça qu'on en ressort encore plus unis.
Est-ce que M. Trudeau va être le chef durant la prochaine campagne électorale?
M. Duclos l'a déjà dit très clairement et M. Trudeau a aussi indiqué très clairement qu'il y a des choses qui doivent s'améliorer. C'est normal, les députés sont dans certains cas nerveux, ils sentent toute la nervosité aussi des électeurs autour de l'alternative qui est M. Poilievre. Donc, beaucoup de travail à faire, mais je pense que ce caucus ce matin a été vraiment excellent pour savoir quoi faire et quand le faire.
Est-ce qu'on a réclamé un vote secret sur le déchet de M. Trudeau? Est-ce qu'on a réclamé un vote secret?
Vous savez qu'au caucus du Parti libéral, on fonctionne de manière très ouverte. Les gens se prononcent très ouvertement. Beaucoup d'entre eux l'ont fait ce matin. On en est très reconnaissant et ça va continuer comme ça.
Vous dites des choses doivent changer. Quelles choses doivent changer?
C'est-à-dire que je pense qu'on a pris pour acquis un peu trop jusqu'à maintenant que les gens allaient faire facilement le contraste entre les deux options principales des prochaines élections, l'option conservatrice et l'option libérale. On fait confiance à l'intelligence des gens, mais on voit toute la désinformation qui se passe là, au point de vue des élections inévitables qui vont arriver d'ici la prochaine année. Donc le travail de contraste et de pré-campagne, évidemment. Oui, mais pas juste ça, des publicités, mais une présence plus forte. Ne pas prendre pour acquis que les gens vont avoir toute l'information nécessaire pour faire les bons choix lors des prochaines élections.
La page est-elle tournée sur cette saga?
Bien, il y aura toujours du travail à faire au sein du caucus. À toutes les semaines, on a des caucus importants. Celui-ci a été un peu plus long parce que le premier ministre a dit très clairement qu'il voulait entendre le point de vue de tous les députés qui voulaient se prononcer. On est quand même 160 députés. Alors, ça a été un défi.
Ça va continuer ce brasse-camarade?
Je pense que ce qui est clair ce matin, c'est que le caucus est fort et uni, très diversifié. Hein, les gens entendent différentes choses à travers différentes parties du pays. Mais ça fait la force du Parti libéral. Allez-y.
OK. Vous dites que le Parti libéral, que M. Trudeau était voulait entendre tout le monde. Alors, est-ce que tous les insatisfaits ont parlé aujourd'hui? C'est quoi qu'il faut comprendre de ça? En
fait, tout le monde a été invité à se prononcer. On est 160, donc c'est pas tout le monde qui a pu parler, mais tout le monde a pu être assuré que s'il voulait intervenir, il pouvait le faire. Dans certains cas, les gens n'ont pas voulu intervenir parce que leurs points de vue ont déjà été formulés par d'autres. C'est normal, mais la diversité des points de vue a contribué à une réunion du caucus très solide.
Mais avez-vous été soufflé peut-être par la quantité de gens qui étaient insatisfaits? Oui.
L'insatisfaction, c'est l'insatisfaction des citoyens. C'est pas l'insatisfaction par rapport aux politiques du gouvernement canadien, parce qu'il y a une très forte satisfaction par rapport à tout ce qu'on met en place pour aider les gens, par exemple, à joindre les deux bouts. C'est l'insatisfaction de où ils sont présentement dans la vie en 2024 avec l'inflation post-pandémique qui a fait, oui, mal à tous les pays, mais certainement aussi aux Québécois et aux Canadiens.
C'était de voir que ces gens qui étaient insatisfaits au micro, est-ce que vous avez été étonné d'en entendre peut-être beaucoup?
Non, pas plus qu'à l'ordinaire. Je pense que les gens ont eu plus de temps pour le faire, évidemment, ce matin. Et c'était l'occasion de le faire aussi.
Merci. Réflexion. Mais vous souhaiteriez que M. Trudeau cède sa place?
Je pense que je vais continuer. Je pense qu'il y a d'autres questions.
Oui, est-ce que M. Trudeau doit céder sa place, selon vous?
Les discussions qui ont eu lieu aujourd'hui en caucus ont été très importantes. Je pense que le devoir numéro 1 d'un député, c'est vraiment d'être la voix de sa communauté. C'est à lui de prendre la décision, évidemment, mais avec toute l'information qu'il doit avoir pour prendre ces décisions importantes-là pour le futur du parti, pour le futur
Et qu'est-ce que les gens de votre circonscription vous disent au sujet de M. Trudeau?
Ils me disent plusieurs choses, mais une chose qui revient toujours, c'est on veut du changement, mais on ne veut pas reculer. Alors, Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Ça veut dire plusieurs choses. Des choses que le premier ministre va devoir considérer pour prendre la meilleure décision pour le bien du parti et du
Trudeau devrait
bien.
rester le chef? Vous disent-t-il que M. Trudeau doit rester?
Do you feel better?
I can't speak to what happened in the
Do you
caucus.
feel personally, as an MP heading into the next election, better or worse after this caucus meeting?
I'm not going to characterize the caucus meeting. I'm not going to speak to what. No, I'm not going to do that. Encore une fois, je ne vais pas parler de ce qui s'est passé dans le caucus. J'ai partagé avec le Premier ministre et mes collègues ce que mes commettants m'ont dit. Et encore une fois, ce qui se passe dans le caucus, ça doit rester dans le caucus.
What do your constituents want to see?
Again, I'm not going to.
I'm asking you, you said in caucus, I'm asking what your constituents want to see.
Again, I think what my constituents want to see is a government that's addressing the issues that are important to them. And I think most of my constituents want to make sure Pierre Poilievre never becomes Prime Minister because of how dangerous he is to the people in my community in the Etobicoke Centre and to Canada. And that's the priority.
Monsieur Baker, est-ce que la question du leadership de M. Trudeau s'est réglée ou pas?
Encore une fois, je ne vais pas parler de ça. Si vous avez des questions en ce qui concerne la position du Premier ministre, c'est vraiment...
Ça soulève, vraiment, répondre soulève des questions sur la suite des choses.
C'est à vous de demander les questions, mais de mon côté, je ne parle pas au nom du Premier ministre.
Is there a path forward with the Prime Minister?
I'm sorry?
Is there a path forward under the Prime Minister's leadership?
Again, I'm not going to characterize the future. I'm not going to speculate on the future. I think at the end of the day, those are the questions you're asking are questions for the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister says that the Liberal Party is united. Is that your understanding as well?
La décision du leadership, c'est la décision de Monsieur Trudeau. C'est lui qui est le chef.
Did this meeting change anything?
The Liberal Party and the Liberal caucus has always been a place where people can express their feelings, have the conversations, and sometimes tough conversations. But one thing that we're united on, everybody, is beating Poilievre. And we have to do a better job to do that contrast and be ready for campaigning.
Comment ça s'est passé? Est-ce qu'il y a eu un vote à l'intérieur sur le leadership?
Vous savez que je ne peux pas vous parler de ce qui se passe.
Donc c'est fini, il n'y aura plus de rebelles, il n'y aura plus de lettres, il n'y aura plus rien.
Il y a toujours des gens qui peuvent avoir des opinions et ces opinions sont transmises au sein du caucus. Mais aujourd'hui, ce que je vous dis, c'est que les gens sont unis derrière le fait qu'il faut battre Poilievre. Puis s'il y a des changements à faire, c'est peut-être des changements au niveau de la campagne, comment on va la faire, comment on va l'organiser. Mais on est tous unis derrière battre Poilievre.
Well, listen, it was a great discussion, the type of discussion I think Canadians would be proud to see because when you have a caucus, you need to hear all voices. But what really matters at the end is that we come out of that caucus meeting united, resolve in delivering for Canadians, and resolve in winning the next election.
Est-ce que la lettre a été présentée?
Ce qui est important, moi je vous dirais, les gens qui nous regardent, non, mais je vous entends, mais si vous voulez une réponse, il faut que j'aie la chance de pouvoir vous parler, puis aux gens qui nous écoutent. Ce que je peux vous dire, c'est qu'on a eu une très bonne discussion, une discussion importante, parce que je pense même une discussion dont les gens à la maison seraient fiers, parce que c'est le genre de discussion qu'on devait avoir. C'est un bon moment pour l'avoir. Ce qui sort de cette discussion-là, c'est qu'on est unis à continuer de servir les Canadiens et certainement de gagner la prochaine.
What made you united?
Well, look at us. You know, you'll see people. Well, people, because it's like in a family. What happens in caucus is like a family. You need to listen to each other. You need to make sure you welcome the views of people. But at the end, it's like a dinner table. At the end of the dinner, we all need to come out and relentless focus on serving Canadians and winning the next election. That's what you're going to do.
Are you did anyone ask Mr. Trudeau to resign?
You know, caucus is private, right? You know that, right?
You know we don't talk about caucus.
No, but you can tell us the results.
C'est bien, c'était bien. C'est une bonne discussion.
Que le caucus est 100% derrière M. Trudeau.
Minister, are you satisfied with the Prime Minister today?
We don't talk about caucus.
Is caucus
Is caucus 100% behind Mr. Trudeau? Comment ça a été, Mme Bibeau?
Moi, je veux vous dire, que je suis vraiment très fière de cette équipe-là. Et deux, on va battre Poilievre aux prochaines élections.
Est-ce que le caucus est 100% derrière M. Trudeau?
On est 100% derrière M. Trudeau.
Est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui ont demandé sa démission?
On est 100% derrière M. Trudeau. Je ne parle pas de ce qui est arrivé au caucus.
Comment ça a été, d'abord, le caucus?
Toujours des belles discussions, puis ce qui se passe au caucus, c'est confidentiel.
Est-ce que le caucus est 100% derrière M. Trudeau?
Le caucus est libéral.
Est-ce que les gens sont rendus?
Excellent discussion, and we are unified and clear that we need to beat Pierre Poilievre.
100%.
100%
Je ne révélerai pas parce que c'est pas à moi de révéler les discussions qu'on a au caucus. S'il y a un endroit qui est sacro-saint où les députés peuvent s'exprimer librement, c'est le caucus. Et je ne voudrais pas qu'on trahisse cette confiance-là. Je n'ai pas l'intention de le faire.
Est-ce que c'est réglé pour demain?
Moi, à mon sens, M. Trudeau reste comme chef et le parti est uni pour battre Pierre Poilievre à la prochaine élection.
Mais dans le caucus, est-ce que la question du leadership de M. Trudeau est réglée pour demain?
Ben, écoutez, moi, je pense qu'il y a de l'unité au sein du caucus. Il y a des discussions difficiles qui ont cours. Puis ça, c'est ce à quoi on s'attend dans des caucus. Comme vous pouvez vous imaginer, c'est pas toujours simple, mais il y a de l'unité. Une chose qui unit tous les députés, ça je peux vous le garantir, c'est de ne pas mettre en péril l'héritage des dernières années et que Poilievre forme un gouvernement majoritaire à la prochaine élection.
Est-ce que c'est mieux to move on from this?
Je penserais pas. J'ai pas du tout cette impression-là. J'ai pas cette impression-là. Moi, je me représente définitivement.
Do you think this was enough today to satisfy the caucus response that everyone's going to be united going forward?
It's hard for me to tell. I don't channel 164 of my colleagues, but I do feel like there's a path forward and that we should be focusing on what matters most to Canadians, which are not the internal affairs of the Liberal Party. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Trudeau?
Everyone was very frank, great conversation. We are united in preventing Pierre Poilievre from becoming the next Prime Minister. We had great support in the room. And
Does that include Mr. Trudeau?
understanding the questions. Well, everyone in that room was united in wanting to win the next election and defeat Pierre Poilievre.
Is that with or without Mr. Trudeau? Is that with or without?
My view is with Mr. Trudeau.